everyone. So for this first transition, I have two clips here. I'm going to merge them together. And then I'm going to import my pictures again. Now I'm going to go to New, Multi-Layer, press 3D. The color background doesn't matter right now, but for layer 1, I'm going to put my first picture. For layer 2, I'm going to put a green color layer. You can change the color depending on your picture, like if layer 1 the picture is like really bright or if there's a lot of green in it, then obviously don't use green. You want to use a color that's easy to mask out. But anyways, so go to layout and look for the effect that says square reveal right here, and then press the arrow and press center vertical. Then go to edit keyframes, and at the very beginning you're going to put the layout to 0. And at the very end, you're going to put it to 100. And then about halfway through, so about 0.15, I'm going to mark it down with this arrow and then just add your graph. Okay, so now it should look like this. And create. Now go to multi-layer again and press 3D. Make sure the color background is green, or again, just whatever color is easy to mask out. For layer 1, I'm going to use the picture that I haven't used yet. You can kind of do whatever with this. I'm just going to add the cuboid effect. You can add a star, a pyramid, even like a phone element, but I'm just going to do a cube to keep it simple. For layer 2, I'm going to add the first picture. And make sure this is the clip where there's like nothing on it. It's just a plain picture. And press cuboid as well, and go to the arrow and press top. And then for layer 3, we're also going to put the picture, the original picture, nothing done to it. Cuboid and press bottom. And then for layers 2 and 3, I'm just going to size it up to about 135 is good. It's up to you. And make sure for layer 3, just copy the keyframe so that it's the same size. For layer 4, I'm going to add the clip that we just made with the reveal effect like that. I'm going to add a cuboid to it and then copy keyframes from layer 2 or 3. And then make sure to add a mask and mask out the green. And now it should look like this. And then you can just add a master and kind of add whatever movement you want to it. What I usually do is about halfway through, I go to these left and right arrows and I turn it by about 3. And then at the end, I turn it to around 15. And then I just add my graphs. And now it should look like this. And I'm just going to create. And we're done. Okay, for this next transition, once again, I just have two clips here. I'm going to merge these two together and then import my pictures again. Now I'm going to go to New, Multi-Layer, press 3D, make your color background green or just whatever color is easy to mask out. For layer 1, I'm just going to add my first picture and I'm going to make it a cuboid. And for layer 2, I'm going to add my second picture and make it a cuboid as well. Okay, so for layer 3, I'm just going to add a color layer. Just add whatever color you want. And then I'm going to make it a pyramid using the unfold effect here. And then I'm just going to move it up. And for layer 4, I'm going to copy it and press unfold as well. And then rotate it by 50 and then move it down. I made a mistake. I meant to say use the expand effect with the pyramid. So I'm just gonna change that. But to give it some depth for layer 5, I'm going to add the color layer, but I'm gonna make it a little darker. And then press expand, and I'm gonna press bottom and copy keyframes from layer 3. So now it has like, you know, kind of a shadow, I guess, at the bottom. And then for layer 6, I'm going to do the same. So copy layer 5, press expand, and press bottom. And then copy keyframes from layer 4. So now it should look like that. Really quick, before I go forward, I just erased the pyramid so that I could show you guys a few other ways that you could add shapes. So if you wanted to do a circle, then go to text and just press this bullet point. And then I like using the font like chalkboard here, because when you press 3D, like it's a really thin circle, which I like. So just make the color and outline the same color and use the up and down arrows right here, rotate it by 25 and just move it up like that. And then copy layer 3, move it by 25 and move it down like that. Or you could add a square by adding a color layer and making it a cuboid, then rotating it by 25 using the up and down arrows and making the layout about 2 to 5 should be a good number. And then just move it up like this and size it up. Just do the same thing for layer 4, so copy layer 3 and add the cuboid, copy keyframes from layer 3 and then just move it down like that. And then to add a shadow, just do the same thing like with the pyramids. Add a darker color layer, press bottom, copy keyframes from layer 3. And oh, you're actually going to press back. You should press back so that it's on that side. So same thing for layer 6, just add the color layer, cuboid, press back, copy keyframes from layer 4. Okay, for layer 6, it should actually be front, not back, I'm sorry. So yeah, really quick, I just wanted to show you guys how you could use different shapes with this, but yeah, anyways, moving on with the tutorial. Okay, so once you have your shapes set in, just go to add master and add all of the layers. And there's actually a number of ways that you could do this, as in like which way you turn it, how you turn it, and stuff like that. What I like to do is at the very end, I use the up and down arrows and I turn it to 50, and I use these left and right arrows. I turn it by 1.00, so technically 100. And then I use these arrows and I turn it by 25. So now it's something like this. Obviously we have to add our graphs, and I actually like to use this graph. So I'm just going to add that graph to all of these 3 arrows. And now it should look like this. Okay, so once you've got that done, I'm just going to go back, and for layer 2, I'm just going to turn down the opacity, and about halfway through, I'm going to turn it to 100, and then go back a keyframe and turn it back to 0. So for layer 1, I'm going to do kind of the opposite for that. So at 0.14, that's where this is at opacity 0. So I'm going to mark this down at opacity 100. And then for the next keyframe, I'm going to make it 0. I hope that makes sense. So now it should be like this. And then to fix this, I'm just gonna go to edit keyframes, and at the very beginning, just turn it by 25 this way. Lastly, this is an optional step, but you can add shadows to the cubes by adding a color layer of black, and then press cuboid. And then if I'm adding shadows to the first cube, I'm just gonna copy keyframes from layer 1. And make sure that you go to the master and add layer 7. And I'm just going to press left. And you can kind of see like where it is. So from here, this is just gonna take a bit of playing around with. I'm just gonna play with the opacity until I'm happy with it. So I think 65 is good, so just make sure at the very beginning is where you change the opacity. And then here where we marked it down, make sure you change it to the same opacity. So at the beginning, I changed it to 65. So here I'm going to change it to 65 as well. And then same thing for the bottom layer. I'm just going to copy layer 7, add layer 8 to the master, add a cuboid, copy keyframes from layer 7, and press bottom. And it should look like that. You can also change the color layer to white if you want, whatever looks better for you. And then same thing for this cuboid, so I'm gonna add a white color layer this time, press cuboid, make sure to add it in the master, copy keyframes from layer 2. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to make it just the left, and I'm going to make the opacity 65. So here you see how we have opacity 0, 0, and then 100. Change the 100 to 65 or whatever opacity you want for it, like that. For layer 10, I'm just going to add another color layer. This time it's going to be black. Cuboid, add it to the master, edit keyframes, copy keyframes from layer 9, and I'm going to use just the top. And now it should look like this. And that's all. Okay, so for this next transition, once again, I have 2 clips here. I've already merged them together, but if you haven't, then go ahead and do it right now. And make sure you import your pictures as well. Now go to New, Multi-Layer, press 3D. So for layer 1, I'm just going to add the Polaroid, and I will have a link in the description so you can download the same Polaroid frame as me. For layer 2, I'm going to add my first picture. I'm just going to make it a cube, and then I'm just going to size it down a bit and move it to the center of the Polaroid like this. And then for layer 3, I'm just going to copy layer 1. For layer 4, I'm going to add my second picture, make it a cube as well, and copy keyframes from layer 2. Now I'm going to add master. I'm going to add layer 1 and 2, which is the first cube and the first Polaroid. And then I'm going to move this down so I can see it from the top and press the anchor and move it so that it's in front of the plus sign like this. Now I'm just going to size it down a bit, and then at the very end I'm going to go to these left and right arrows and turn it by 25, and right in the middle I'm going to mark it down and add my graphs. Next I'm going to add a master with layers 3 and 4. And I'm just going to do the same thing, so view it from the top and then move the anchor down so that it's in front of the plus sign like that. And size it down a bit. And then at the very beginning, move these left and right arrows. We're going to move it to 25 this way. And then at the very end, we're going to move it to 0. And then right in the middle, just mark it down and add your graph. Okay, so now it should look like this. And then just to make it a little better, I'm going to play with the depth of these two. So I'm going to go to the first master and I'm just going to move the depth down a bit. And then I'm going to mark down the path and add my graph. And then same thing for the second master. I'm just going to play with the depth a bit. And same thing, I'm just going to mark it down in the middle and add my graph. And then lastly, just to add something extra, I'm just going to go to the first cube and just play around with like these little up and down arrows and the left and right arrows. Just play around with it like that. I usually just go here and I just add these like S graphs like that, and just play around with it. And then for the second cube, I basically do the same thing except the opposite. So at the very end, I'm going to go to these left and right arrows and mark it down so it's at 0. Same thing for the up and down arrows. And then at the beginning is where I'll like add the little flips. And this is what my finished product looks like. Okay, so this next transition goes over 3 clips, but I'm only going to use 2 pictures. But before we actually do anything with it, make sure that the first clip like has an out transition. I'm going to show you guys how I use this in my edit so you can understand. So basically, let's just pretend that the clip before this was like a slide in, so I'm just going to slide out. So yeah, just make sure you do that before starting this transition. So if you've got that done, then just merge the clips together. So if you have the timing and velocity pack, then you can just go to timing and then move this top one so that it ends at the last frame of the first clip, if that makes sense. So, and then drag this bottom one so that whatever frame number it has here, it has here as well. So this is 15 frames, so move it so it's 15 frames here as well. If you don't have the timing and velocity pack, then you can just go to new, multi-layer, and then your clip, and then at the very end of the first clip, just take a screenshot and import it for the second layer. And then on the second layer, just edit keyframes, and at the very beginning, make the opacity 0. And then at the end of this first clip, I'm going to make the opacity 100. And then a frame before that, I'm going to make the opacity 0. And so it should look like this. So once you've got that done, just import your second picture. Now go to multi-layer, press 3D, make your color background green or just whatever color is easy to mask out layer. For layer 1, I'm just going to add the first clip with the transition like this, and go to layout, press expand with the triangle, and then I'm just going to move this down like this. For layer 2, just copy layer 1 and add expand, and now we're just going to turn it a bit so that we can place it right next to this one. Unfortunately for this one, it's like right between 16 and 17, so you're gonna have to like play with it a bit until it gets like right there, that's pretty good. And then just move it so it's in place like that. And then for layer 3, just copy layer 2, press the expand, and then just rotate it again so you can place it right here. And once again, I think it's in between 2 values, so you can't really you have to play with it a bit. Now I'm sure you can tell what we're gonna do next. You're just gonna keep doing this process until you have a complete hexagon. Okay, so I've got all our pyramids in place. Unfortunately, it won't make a perfect exact hexagon. It won't even be that noticeable, but just try your best to get it in place like this. Next, for layer 7, I'm just going to add my second picture, and I'm just going to make it a cube like that, and then add a master. Now I'm going to use these up and down arrows to turn it by 25 like this, and then use these left and right arrows to turn it by 50 like this. Now at the very beginning, I'm going to size it up so that the first clip fills up the screen like this. And then I'm going to go about 15 keyframes in. At the end of this transition, I'm just going to mark down the size, and at about 1.00, I'm going to size it down. and just add this graph. So make a graph like this. Next, we're going to go to the second keyframe and just mark down the path. And then at the very end, we're going to drag it down a bit like this. And on this keyframe, I'm going to mark down the path and add my graph. Next, we're going to make all these little pyramids turn. So what I'm going to do is just go back to the master, and really quick, I'm just going to move these up and down arrows back to 0. This is just going to make it easier to like control the path of each of the pyramids. But I'm going to go back to layer 1, and on the 15 keyframe, I'm just going to mark down the path, and these left and right arrows, I'm going to mark that down as well. And then at the very end, I'm just going to turn it by 50 and use this graph. And then I'm just going to move it down and just add the same graph. And we're basically going to do the same thing for each pyramid. So at the 15th keyframe, mark down this left and right arrows, and same with the path. And then at the end, turn it by 50. And then we're going to move it over. It's going to be a little weird, but we're going to press this arrow. It's weird because it's supposed to be going that way, but instead it's going this way. So yeah, just play around with these until it kind of extends the same way that layer 1 did. And just do the same thing for each layer. Once you're done, just go back to the master, and at the very beginning, turn it to 25 again, like that. Okay, I'm so sorry I keep making mistakes, but I ended up deleting the path work for layer 7, which was the cube. Instead, what I'm gonna do is on the 15 keyframe, I'm just going to add a zoom in. So mark down the size at 0, and then at the very end, just size it up, and then halfway through, just mark it down and add your graph. Okay, so this last thing isn't really a transition. I'm just going to show you guys how to construct like a little Barbie doll thing. And then you guys can kind of figure out how you want to use it in your edits. Really quick before we start, I just want to give credit to Emo Who from Whoville, aka Lauren. She made up this transition. I'm just doing the Videostar version of the tutorial. So let's go to new multi-layer. I'm going to make my color background white. And then for layer 1, I'm just going to add a pink color layer. You can change the color depending on, like, you know, if you're using like a Monster High logo instead of Barbie, you know, just change it up accordingly. And then I'm just going to drag this down like this. And then I'm just going to create that. So yeah. Then let's go to multi-layer again, press 3D, and we won't be making this on a green screen because there's kind of no way to mask this. So for layer 1, I'm just going to add my background, and then for layer 2, I'm going to add the little like white and pink thing that I just made, and then press layout, and then we're going to make it a cuboid. I'm going to make it a rectangle like this, and then press this arrow and press back. And then if it disappears like that, then just make the depth, like push it in front of the background like this, and then turn down the opacity to 50. For layer 3, I'm just going to copy layer 2, make it a cuboid, rectangle, press the arrow, and this time we're going to press left, and then copy keyframes from layer 2. And then same thing for layer 4, just copy the layer, make it a cuboid, make it a rectangle. This time press right and copy keyframes from layer 3. We won't be adding a front side, so for layer 5, just add a color layer, make it white, press cuboid, make it a rectangle. This time press top and copy keyframes from layer 4. For layer 6, just add the same white color layer, press cuboid, make it a rectangle again, and press bottom. Then copy keyframes from layer 5. And it should look like this. For layer 7, add your person. Try to get a picture of them standing like this, so you can make it look like like they're a doll. And then just add mask. And then just edit the keyframes so that they're in the middle of the box like this. And then I'm just gonna size it down a bit. And then for layer 8, I'm going to add the white and pink thing again, press cuboid, make it a rectangle, and copy keyframes from layer 5. Just like that. And I'm actually going to turn down the opacity a bit more to about 15 is good. Now for layer 9, I'm just gonna add the Barbie logo. And then we're just gonna move it so it's in the front. And then just size it down and just kind of, move it in place. So there's your little Barbie doll. Unfortunately, I don't really know how to fix this masking thing around them. I think that if you turn it at certain angles, it'll be fine, but otherwise I don't really know how to fix it. But anyways, when you're adding movement, just add all the layers, and you're gonna move the anchor so it's in the middle of the box like this. And I'm just gonna size it up a bit, and now you can just do whatever with this. I'll show you guys an example of how I would use this. So let's say about here. So that is all I have for you today. If you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow my Instagram at VirgoYoons, link in the description. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.